Daniel Cormier, Joe Rogan. Guys, I'm a day late, but I'm not a dollar short. This story is still progressing. Look, back up. Fury, Wilder, okay? There's a knockdown. There's a count by the referee. You all understand that it's a count to 10. Now, that 10 doesn't mean 10 seconds, but it's supposed to. I mean, it's supposed to be 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, but it's supposed to be 10 seconds, right? Like, you don't get to slip your uncle in as the referee and all of a sudden it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? I mean, you get my point. But that isn't official. It's not perfect, and that is relevant. I mean, I came through the amateur wrestling scene. We had something called parterre. In parterre, per the actual rule book, you were to be given 15 to 20 seconds. The rule book actually had that loose of wording. In the rules, you were to be given 15 to 20 seconds. What does that mean? What is 15 to 20 seconds? Because my math teacher, Mrs. Burak, at Wood Middle School would have told you that's 17.5. That is what is in between 15 and 20 seconds, but it was off the top of the referee's head. He's going to kind of look. He's going to kind of see if there's action there. He's going to give a good guess if something's going to happen, and then he's going to blow the whistle and bring you up. Well, if you're the offensive guy and you've got to score, or you're the defensive guy and you've got to protect yourself, it's kind of important to know how long. The rules in wrestling, this might still stand to this day, but the rules in wrestling actually said 15 to 20 seconds. Okay. So in boxing, you're going to count to 10. What a lot of people don't understand about boxing is the count isn't only the referees. There is somebody outside the ring, positioned there, licensed by the commission, whose only job is to count and make sure that his count of 1 to 10 is in line with the referee's count. And if there's a great discrepancy, then we can have a back and forth and maybe you'd even get an executive director involved. I don't know. In all fairness, I don't actually know if those two aren't in line, but I know they don't have to be. One can get to 10 while the other is just about to say 9, or vice versa, and whatever the in-ring official says will go. But he does exist, might be relevant to the story. So, in the Fury-Wilder fight, knockdown, the person who threw the punch, the one who's not down, must go to the furthest neutral corner. Okay, great. Now, I have a big problem with that wording right there, but that is not the hill I choose to die on. Why it has to be the furthest and why it has to be neutral. I mean, why you think you are going to get a fighter who can't count to 4 to know what the furthest or neutral corner is, let alone in the heat of battle? Not at all my point, but I digress. The opponent didn't do that. Okay? The count has started. 1, 2, 3, 4. Everything's in line. Referee, outside counter. Everything is just as it's supposed to be. Opponent went to the furthest neutral corner, but left it. He left the corner. He walked forward. I could only imagine why. It comes back to the point that I took a moment to make for you, that a fighter simply doesn't know where he is. In all fairness, you just don't. I got it neutral and the furthest one away, and how do I measure this as opposed to that? I mean, it just starts to get weird. And then what does in the corner mean? Am I grabbing something? Is there a rope there? You see what I'm talking about? Where it's kind of similar with the wording to amateur wrestling, if we're going to go 15 to 20 seconds. Like, it's kind of one of these things. And then a fighter who's caught up in the moment, and there's going to be everything from exhaustion to being discombobbled, in addition with just excitement, just pure adrenaline. Maybe you got to take a couple steps in to hear what number that referee's out, right? There's a number of reasons why you might leave the corner. I've never been in that spot. Even in the boxing matches I had, I didn't have to do those things. So I don't really know. I'm watching and I'm attempting to guess, and I think I'm being logical. But the rule clearly says if the fighter is to leave the neutral corner, the referee is to stop the count. That's very clear. And a couple of the examples I gave you, man, it's almost like wordplay. Furthest and neutral corner. What the heck does it mean to be in the corner? And in wrestling, you got 15 to 20 seconds, and it's a parterre position. That's really clear. If the referee deems that the athlete has left the furthest neutral corner, he is to stop the count. That's in writing. That's absolutely in writing, and that's what the referee did. The referee stopped the count, ordered that athlete back to the corner. If you're not familiar with that intricacy within the rule, which in all fairness, how would you be? How would you possibly know? Between the IBF, the WBA, the WBC, but between all of these boxing commissions you have, how would you possibly know all the intricacies? I wouldn't blame you, but the announcers that are calling it, that are left there to educate you, they also don't know them. And the one guy that pops in and maybe does know it doesn't think to familiarize you. It's just the way that it goes. So all I'm trying to do, I'm not calling out Daniel, I'm not calling out Rogan. I'm pointing out for you guys that referee was correct. He was absolutely correct. If he deems that the athlete has left the corner, now I'll meet you part way on this. We can argue whether he left the corner or he was in it. We could even discuss what in the hell is the corner. Even Vince McMahon, when you have a tag team match, will put a rope. Well, the outside man has to be holding on to so that we can identify who's in and who's out. What is the corner? Even Vince thought to be able to identify to the athletes, to the official, and to the audience what the corner is. Boxing words it that way, but the opponent did leave. He stepped forward. He took 2 steps forward. So whatever in the corner means with quotations, if you take 2 steps in the opposite way, can we also logically deem that you've left the corner? And if you do, the referee is to stop the count and instruct you to return. The referee stopped the count and instructed him to return. I only bring it to you so we can put this conspiracy behind us. It was a fair adjudication, and there has been times, I mean, even in my lifetime, and I'll admit the corruption that's done in boxing, how so one guy can get a count to 10, they only get to 9, but 16 seconds elapsed, right? We've seen that. I can tell you one off the top of my head. I can't remember the times, but it was Buster Douglas versus Mike Tyson. There was the world's slowest count, and I remember that happening. And the referee who did know the rules, I would trust, is able to pretend. This referee played to the masses. This is in Tokyo. It's like 2 a.m. or something crazy along these lines, and this fight happened. And it was the world's slowest count to get Mike back up to his feet because the referee couldn't believe what he was witnessing. And he tried to look to the court, but this is where the corruption comes. The corruption comes when you allow wordplay like in the corner, leave the corner. What does it mean to be in the corner? What does it mean to leave the corner? Because now, if you do want to mess with the count, that's not what happened here. It's not what happened here. But if I leave it at that, I have nothing to talk to you guys about, right? I'm trying to discuss a further point. If all the referee has to do is deem somebody, and all of a sudden the referee can look up like he's Herb Hebner, usher a guy back who hasn't moved and thinks he's in it in the first place. I mean, do you see the problem? Do you see where it becomes a little bit more helpful if the words are a little bit more clear? Go to the furthest neutral corner. Well, I got to do geometry while I'm out here. Why don't you tell me which one that is? Okay, great. What does it mean to be in the corner? And if we establish that, then we can, as reasonable people, also determine that 2 steps were taken out of that corner by Wilder. Wilder was in a corner. He took 1 step. He took 2 steps out of that corner. So even by the pre-imposed definition that we would assume Wilder had for corner, he took 2 steps out of it. Referee was right.